If you like this video, please give a thumbs up and subscribe. Hit the bell icon to be notified of new videos. The windshield cracked and the airbag deployed. MUFON image: 2 New Hampshire teenagers sitting in a parked car were approached by a black-colored UFO in Laconia on March 20, 2010, lifted into the air, and then dropped back onto pavement 180 feet away, according to testimony from the Mutual UFO Network (MUFON) database. MUFON New England State Director Steve Fermani confirmed his investigation of the case today by telephone and said witness interviews had been completed. The 18-year-old girl and 16-year-old boy both testify about their encounter. The two used the girl's mother's car and went to a Laconia destination that has not been released. "We were just sitting there and I looked up at the moon," the female witness stated. "I saw this weird black-shaped object. And then, I said to my boyfriend, 'What was that?'" Both accounts described the same events. They saw an object coming toward them from the sky and began to panic. When they attempted to drive away, the car they were operating was lifted off the ground. Both describe an odd smell during the incident. When the car hit the pavement 180 feet away, the windshield cracked and the airbags deployed. Photo: asphalt impact area. MUFON image: Fermani said there was no damage to the body of the car, but that there was about $5,000 damage to the underside of the car. The male witness described the UFO. "I don't know how to explain this, but it turns into a ball when it wants to slow down and move around quickly, and when it wants to go fast, straight, it turns into a flat plate with maze box-shaped lined lights. These were on all the time." He describes attempting to drive away. "The front end got picked up and the car could not move. We steered left and right, but the car just kept on going up into the air. When the car hit the ground, they drove quickly away to the girl's home where her mother called the police." Fermani said there were 3-inch divots in the curbing at the impact point where the car hit the ground. He said further study would be made to the undercarriage body parts, which MUFON has retained from the body shop. Laconia is a city in Belknap County, New Hampshire, population 16,411. This case was originally reported to Peter Davenport at the National UFO Reporting Center. Davenport referred the case to Fermani. The following is the witness testimony from this case. NH, March 20, 2010. 2 witness accounts. Credit: Peter Davenport, NUFORC. MUFON case number 22880. My name is Ian. I'm 18 years old. I live in Laconia. Last Saturday night, my boyfriend D came up to see me and we went out. When we got to Edited in Laconia, we parked in the back in the separate parking lot. We turned off the car and it was totally silent. Photo: asphalt impact area and tire marks in the grass. MUFON image: we were just sitting there and I looked up at the moon. I saw this weird black-shaped object. And then, I said to my boyfriend, "What was that?" He looked up at it and he said, "If it gets any closer, we need to leave." I kept staring at the moon to see if it was just a plane or something. It moved back across the moon. It was huge and it looked like it was zigzagging or changing shape. I couldn't tell. He said, "I think it's coming closer." It flew so fast over the trees, getting closer to where we were. It felt like it was zeroing in on us. It blocked the moon. And then, we started panicking and driving away. I thought we're going to hit the bingo building. We turned left, but it felt like we went off of a jump. You know that feeling? Like we were on a roller coaster? And we were in the air. I was trying to pay attention to everything that was going on, but it felt like I couldn't. When I looked up, everything was black. The smell was not nice, but it was like something you could stand. It was an odor I've never smelled before. I heard absolutely nothing. It was silent. I felt immobilized, like I had no control over what I was doing or over my body. I could see nothing. It was like opening your eyes in a pitch-black room. I felt really nervous and scared. I don't remember crying or screaming. I held on to the center console because I felt like I was lifted. I was holding on so tight that my thumbprint is imprinted on the center console, and then, when I finally realized what was happening, I was so close to the windshield that my body was going forward with my arms behind me. Everything was black. I heard a loud noise like a horn. Once. And then, the car just dropped. I hit my eye on the dashboard and the airbags came out. I couldn't believe what had just happened. I held my face and I looked over at my boyfriend. I saw that his left arm had blood. I said, "Are you okay?" I looked at the windshield and it was cracked, totally, but only on the passenger side. I could see D, but I couldn't see anything outside. The only thing that made the car drop was the sound of the loud horn. When the car dropped, there was a loud boom. After that, we just drove so fast out of there. The smell went away after we drove away. And I started crying. And I said, "What the hell just happened?" My boyfriend said, I don't know. I didn't feel like they were following us. When we got home, my mum said that she could hear me from the outside while I was freaking out. I couldn't stop crying. My mum said, "Calm down and tell me what happened." I said, "You're never going to believe me." "Is it my car?" she asked, and I said, "Let me explain," because I felt that if I didn't explain it fast enough, it was just going to go away from my mind. At about 12:15 a.m., a cop arrived. I told him what had happened while I was sitting down at the dinner table. My boyfriend was sitting next to me. It was then that I noticed that there was no more blood on his arm or his clothing. The cop didn't believe me at first until he finished looking at the car. He told my mum that there was no reason for the airbags to come out because nothing else on the car was damaged. He didn't check underneath the car, but we found out later that the underside was totaled. The cop said that he was going to the place where we had been. I just felt thankful that we'd gotten out of there. But I couldn't stop crying for more than 2 hours afterward. My mum said, "You should go take a shower and get the airbag dust off of you." But I didn't want to be alone at all. I felt lucky. And there were no scratches or anything anywhere on my body. The first night, I dreamed that I was a little girl, maybe 6 or 7 years old, in an elementary school classroom. I was looking at myself as a little girl. And then it was like the teacher called me up and I couldn't talk or say anything, but everybody else seemed to say something for me. Like everything I wanted to say, everybody else was saying it except for me. They were saying exactly what I wanted to say. I have never had a dream like this before, where I am a little girl and see anything about the past. I did not feel right at all. I am better now. I still worry about seeing this thing again and I pay attention to the sky at night. I really don't go out at night anymore because I'm scared. Second witness account. My name is Dee. I am 16 years old and I live in New Hampshire. Last Saturday night I went out with my girlfriend, who lives in Laconia, when we had the following experience. I was with her around 11. We wanted to take her mum's car because it was nicer and we wanted to go look at the stars. We went to Edited at the back parking lot in Laconia. There were 8 cars already there when we arrived. Little by little, the cars started leaving one by one. We were the last car in the parking lot. Then the lights of the parking lot and the lights of the houses around us and the lights of the houses down the street started to go out one by one. Then my girlfriend noticed something blocking the moon and asked, "What was that?" I knew it wasn't a cloud because it moved back against the wind and blocked the moon again. I don't know how to explain this, but it turns into a ball when it wants to slow down and move around quickly, and when it wants to go fast, straight, it turns into a flat plate with maze box-shaped lined lights. These were on all the time. The colors were dim yellowish white and did not change. I cannot tell whether these were part of the bottom or not. It flipped a lot. I did not know which side was right or upon it. It was doing this over the trees across the street from the parking lot. It suddenly crossed the street towards our car. Its size was as big as 14 houses. It was really quiet. That's when we had to leave. But I did not have time to turn on the headlights. We put the clutch in to start the car and jammed it into first and floored it. The front end got picked up and the car could not move. We steered left and right, but the car just kept on going up into the air. My girlfriend was scared and she had boogers coming out of her nose while I was cursing. The car was going up and the back wheels were off of the ground. Then I looked out of my window and saw that the parking lot park lines started getting smaller. Both our windows were down this whole time. The front windshield started to crack and shake and the cracks spread from the passenger side to the driver's side. It popped outwards like it was pulled out. Something yanked my wrist. Not aggressively. And the whole time in my head something was telling me, "Don't panic," or "Don't be scared." And it wasn't in English in my head, but I got the meaning. It wasn't a language. I don't know how to explain it. And on my girlfriend's side, it had her halfway out of the window. Her butt was off of her seat, maybe 1.5 or 2 feet. And the car was pointed almost completely straight up at the stars, yet I saw no stars. Every time I tried looking at it, in front, a white film went over my eyes. It was kind of like staring at the sun with your eyelids closed. I could not hear her screaming, but I know that she was screaming. My ears felt like they kept on popping from the altitude. I couldn't hear. The smell was unbearable, like you want to close your nose. It was spicy, like pepper sprays, and clean at the same time. It was a smell that you could stand, but you would close your nostrils because it still smells bad. When I tried to fight and get my wrist back in the car, that's when the grip got stronger. It was pulling my left arm up out of the window. There was no pain, but it was strong. I was trying to fight off the grip on my wrist. My tongue was numb. The horn beeped by accident and the grip got a little loose. It beeped again in the struggle and my arm flopped down in the car. My girlfriend also fell back in her seat and we realized we were still up in the air. It took 2 seconds for the car to drop. When we dropped, the airbags came out. We floored it as fast as we could through the town. It was almost a straightaway to go to my girlfriend's house with very few turns to take. During this time, both of us couldn't stop crying. We arrived at her house and her mum asked, "What happened?" All this took place from 11 p.m. to 12:30 a.m. It seemed like we were in the air for 10 minutes and it felt like it was forever. Her mum called the police, and a policeman came. The policeman did not believe us when we first told him what had happened until he looked at the vehicle. There were no scratches or dents or anything. He said that there was no reason for this to have happened to the car when there are no dents or scratches and no reason for the windshield to shatter and pop out the way it did. He had no explanation for why the windshield popped outwards. Also, when I went to open my cell phone in front of the policeman, I got shocked by it. On Monday, I went to my doctor to get a whole physical to make sure I was okay. My wrist had a puncture wound while my forearm has a cut that is semicircular and there's blood on it. I do remember that when I first looked at my arm after I got it back in the car, it was red with blood. But by the time we got to my girlfriend's house, there was no blood anywhere. On the center console of the car, there is an imprint of her hand. I don't quite understand what the policeman said, but it was something about the skin of her hand leaving an impression. Now, I don't like to feel bumps in the car or feel anything that trembles like a boombox. I don't want to be out in dark areas at night. I also don't like to walk out to my mum's car anymore, outside.